Today, central London became a powerful symbol of unity as thousands marched under the banner "Act Against Hate Before It's Too Late." Over 10,000 people joined this second annual event, organised by the Campaign Against Antisemitism, to demand action against the rising tide of anti-Semitism in the UK and around the world. This isn't just a protest, it's a call to action. With the recent spike in anti-Semitic incidents, including an arson attack on an Australian synagogue and the harassment of students on a bus in North London, British Jews are saying enough is enough. The message is clear: act now before it's too late. Gideon Falter, the CEO of the Campaign Against Antisemitism, delivered a powerful speech pointing to how the rise of hate is being fuelled globally and felt locally. He criticised both the Conservative and Labour governments for failing British Jews, saying that pro-Palestinian marches in the capital have sometimes crossed the line into open support for terrorist organisations. The activism we're seeing on the streets doesn't impact Israel, Gaza or Iran, but here in Britain it's making our streets unsafe. It's not global, it's local. Falter reminded the crowd that the UK has long been a global benchmark for justice, but warned that British values are at risk when hate is allowed to fester unchecked. The crowd in Parliament Square echoed his concerns, calling out government inaction on anti-Semitism. Despite inviting ministers to join the march, none attended, a decision met with loud cries of shame from the demonstrators. But it wasn't all criticism. Falter thanked the police and the Community Security Trust for ensuring the safety of this massive gathering, as well as communal organisations like the Board of Deputies and the Jewish Leadership Council for their support. He also highlighted the presence of non-Jewish allies in the fight against anti-Semitism. Today's march is a powerful reminder that anti-Semitism isn't just a Jewish issue, it's a societal one. British Jews and their allies are standing together to say hate has no place here. But will the government listen? Or will more time be wasted while communities feel unsafe? Let us know what you think in the comments. And here is some footage from the campaign. Let's have a look.
Thank you, Gideon, and hello everyone. What an absolute pleasure to speak to you today, but it absolutely breaks my heart that I have to. How did we get to this point where we have to rally just to oppose Jew hatred? This country's got a proud history of standing up for its values. During Europe's darkest days, Britain stood alone against fascism, refusing to bow to tyranny. It's a history that I, and I'm sure you as well, are deeply proud of. But it's also a complex history. We industrialised slavery, building an economy on the backs of human suffering. Yet this same nation later deployed its navy to enforce abolition, recognising its wrongs and taking action to right them. That history teaches us something critical. When we get things wrong, we have to confront those mistakes and work to repair the damage. Not with words, but with action, as we're seeing today. I like to think that I know what action means. In the armed forces, we put ourselves in harm's way to protect our country and the freedoms that it stands for. I spent the best years of my career fighting extremism in Afghanistan, seeing firsthand the consequences of hate when left unchecked. Those experiences taught me the price of inaction and the cost of looking away. So when I turned on my television on 7th of October and I saw extremists celebrating the attacks in Israel on British streets, I was horrified. And since then, we've seen weekly marches in London, keeping extremism in the public eye. This is not just a fleeting moment or an isolated problem. It's a movement of hatred that threatens the very fabric of our society. The pockets of society that organises these marches doesn't stop in the streets. It infects our NHS with extremism and monopolises discourse on our university campuses. These people have absolute disdain for our country and its values. As British servicemen and women came under fire from the Houthis on the coast of Yemen, these mobs were on our streets singing Yemen, Yemen, make us proud. Even Armistice Day, sacred to so many of us, is not safe from their desecration. They climb on war memorials, dishonouring those who gave their lives for our freedom. They project from the river to the sea onto Big Ben, mocking the very democracy those servicemen and women fought to protect. When I was serving, we didn't risk our lives and expect to return home and witness mobs launching fireworks at police officers, or hear indoctrinated youths call for a Poppies for Palestine initiative on Remembrance Sunday.
Shame.
The resurgence of anti-Semitism that we're witnessing is not just about these weekly hate marches. It's a sign of something far more dangerous, a tolerance for intolerance. The echoes of an ancient hatred are being weaponised anew. Successive governments have failed to respond decisively, and that is a betrayal of our nation's values. As a soldier, I know this to be true. The greatest danger comes when you fail to act early and you fail to act decisively. We've seen this before in history. Hate doesn't go away on its own. It grows, it festers, and it corrodes everything it touches. And let's be very clear indeed, anti-Semitism is not just a problem for the Jewish community. It's not their problem to solve it alone. It's a stain on all of us. It's a threat to the freedoms and the decency that we hold dear. Britain's tolerance must never mean appeasing the intolerant. This march is our way of saying enough. Enough of the weekly chants that go unchallenged. Enough of the casual prejudices that pass unspoken. Enough of the cowardice of those who see hate and pretend that it's somebody else's fight. Every one of us standing here has a responsibility. We must demand stronger action against hate crimes, hold institutions accountable, and push for education that ensures that the next generation understands the horrors of history and the lessons we must never forget. This country has a choice to make. We're at a moment. We have to make a decision. We've shown that we can correct our course, whether that's through abolishing slavery or through standing alone against fascism. But those moments required courage and action. Today we stand here to remind our nation of its better self, to show that we'll not allow extremism to gain ground, not in our streets, not in our schools, and not in our democracy. So let this march today be a symbol of our determination. Let it be a message that echoes across the country. Hate will not win. Solidarity will triumph, but Britain must act, and it must act now.